Hi folks, how's it going? Nice to see you. My name is Dustin Cormier, and you're watching How to Rock Astrology. Today we're going to be continuing our series on the Nakshatras. We're going to get into the particular classification of the Nakshatras. This is the activity. What is the nature of the activity of each nakshatra? Now, Svodoba and Hart to Fouw, in their book Light on Life, have given us a little bit of meat to chew on in regards to these particular characteristics. And this is the reason why I wanted to do this little part of this series. Before we start getting into the individual natures of the nakshatras, I want to have these overarching classifications, particularly because there's not a lot of people who write about them, and Svodoba has a few words to say. Now, I've prepared for us some pictores so that we can have a little bit of an easier time digesting what it is that we're looking at here. And I'm, as usual, don't have them quite prepared just yet. Here we go. Okay, so this is our first classification. It's the activity of the nakshatras. See, we can see 9 active nakshatras, 9 passive nakshatras, and 9 balanced nakshatras, which achieve a balance between the two. You guys can see me okay? Yes? Good. The first one is the classification of the active nakshatras. As we can see, I've kind of tried to group them further into animal, mineral, and plant. It's an arbitrary decision of mine just to try to organize these further. Now we can see that the first, in our active pile of nakshatras, we have Kritika, we have Ashlesha, we have Jesta, which is also shares the trine with Ashlesha, and we have Shatabishak, and those are our 4 animal jiva active nakshatras. Then we have Magha, Vishaka, and Mula are also active nakshatras of the mineral variety. And then we have Dhanishta and Chitra, which are of the plant variety of active nakshatras. All 3 of these are active, and we're going to talk a little bit about what active means. Svodoba actually gives us a little brief on it. It says, for example, 2 people who are equally adept at a subject may have dramatically different learning and teaching styles, and he's going to relate this to the 9th house of learning and teaching. When, all other factors being equal, the lord of the 9th house, i.e. of higher knowledge, occupies one of these active nakshatras, then the native may eagerly and dynamically pursue higher knowledge. If that 9th lord is well placed, then that individual may also be inclined to spread that knowledge energetically and to do so successfully. Of course, as tropical Vedic astrologers, we have to consider that the planet in question, the agenda of the planet, ought to work well with the characteristics of the nakshatra, and as well, the characteristics of the planet the agenda of the planet also ought to do well in its Rashi, in its zodiacal Rashi sign placement. Now, as we can read here, another person in whose chart the 9th lord occupies a passive nakshatra, that may be in their pursuit of higher knowledge, they might maintain that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. They might be a little bit more, the lessons might come to them, positively or negatively. Such people, when teachers would be more likely to pick Such people, when teachers would be more likely to pick one qualified student to instruct than to actively collect acolytes, then these people with the ninth lord in a passive nakshatra might get that golden opportunity. Though, if that ninth lord is well placed, they may be very successful at research behind the scenes. We could say that when a particular planet, like let's say the sun or Mars, is the ninth lord, and it is in a passive nakshatra, and it's debilitated in Cancer in the fourth house, we could see that passivity of the ninth. Well, that wouldn't make sense if it was in the fourth house. But the point is that if that Mars is in a, I wonder if any of these we could tell if it was Cancer. Essentially like Pushya, Punarvasu, and Ardra. Yeah, Punarvasu. There you go. I believe that's in the sign of Cancer. So, if you are in... I could be wrong. Gosh, I don't know if it's actually... I can't tell. Whatever. Anyway, if the ninth lord was Mars, in this case that would be for Leo, or for Pisces. Yep. For Pisces or for a Leo, Mars is the ninth lord. And if that Mars was debilitated in Cancer, in, I think, Purnavasu, which would be a passive sign, then that Mars wouldn't have it would be damaged by the debilitation in Cancer, and the passivity here would cause this Mars to let opportunities for teaching, for glory, for higher education, it would let them slide because this passivity would be negative in that sense. That's the point I'm trying to make here. So our passive nakshatras are Swati is our only animal, Jiva, passive nakshatra. It would make sense, doesn't it, that there's 5 Jiva nakshatras in the active department. There's 5 mineral nakshatras in the passive department, and there's more plant nakshatras in the balance department. It's very interesting. So we have Swati, our animal, passive nakshatra. Then we have, of the mineral passive nakshatras, we have Punarvasu, we have Hasta, passive mineral, we have Shravana, we have Purva Bhadrapada, and we have Ashwini as also passive, believe it or not. Ashwini, I can see them with their swiftness. They can let go of things, and they let things come to them. It's interesting to think about. Mrigashirsha would be a plant nakshatra that's also passive. Pushya is passive, and it's a mula, it's a plant. And Anuradha is passive, and it's a plant nakshatra. Now, when the ninth lord, or in this, we're thinking of the example of the ninth lord. When the ninth lord is in a balanced nakshatra, both behaviors are likely to occur in more equal proportions. And this sort of analysis, this whole ninth lord thing, can be applied to the other houses in a similar manner. So, these are our 27 balanced nakshatras. We have 4 animal jiva nakshatras. It's interesting that the animal is actually balanced with the plant here. Ardra is a balanced nakshatra. We have Uttara Falguni. We have Uttara Ashada. It's interesting that, something like Uttara Ashada is so much about pushing forward with things, but here we see that they're in a balance. They're consistently moving forward with what they're doing in a stabilized way. Something we can think about for all these balanced nakshatras when they're at their best. We have Ravati as our last animal jiva, balanced nakshatra. Rohini is our one mineral nakshatra that is in the balanced category. Then we have Purva Falguni, we have Purva Ashada, Uttara Bhadrapada, and Parani are all considered balanced nakshatras of the plant variety. Very important, very cool and important stuff. Now, Svodoba gives us a little bit more on the subject here. Now, an active dynamic planet like Mars, as I've just said, Mars is going to do better in the active nakshatras. And it finds its dynamic active qualities enhanced when it tenants an active nakshatra. Now, just as a passive planet like Saturn will become even less dynamic when in a passive nakshatra. The active nakshatras, when afflicted, can indicate qualities like aggression, excessiveness, excessive zeal, dogmatism, quarrels, disputes, instability, foolishness, self-centeredness, impulsiveness, impatience, and fast starts but poor follow-through. Under favorable circumstances, these active nakshatras indicate the resourcefulness of a willpower actively applied to the achievement of valued goals in acceptable ways, ways that aren't too much. Passive nakshatras, when afflicted, in planets that are afflicted in a passive nakshatra, can indicate a listless approach to life and life goals, procrastination, excessive and paralyzing idealism, irresoluteness and a lack of courage, while when they're favorable and when favorable planets are in these nakshatras in a positive way, they signify a strong awareness of others, they signify compassion, and an ability to accept reality appropriately, to let thy will be done. The balanced nakshatras, can you guys see me here? I always need to check this. Good. The balanced nakshatras, when afflicted, these make for the sanctimonious finding of fault with others, trying to see others as the problem, an unwillingness to do anything except in a by-the-book, a rigid by-the-book fashion. We find ultra-conservatism, a reluctance to accept reality, and an ill planet in a balanced nakshatra has an exaggerated desire to live life with the least disturbance and adventure possible, just to have no bumps in the road and just try to make everything just go along. Whenever there's an imbalance, whenever there's a need to adapt, they get frustrated. Now, when they're favorably influenced, however, the balanced nakshatras indicate that propitious sense of balance in all things, expressed in the following prayer. Give me the power to change what I can change, the patience to accept what I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. This type of person can really help to shave off too much aggressiveness in the active nakshatras and too much passiveness in the passive nakshatras. Of course, the balanced people find their balance in themselves also by seeing when the other two are too much. And it's good for the balanced people. They can be of great help to the active nakshatras, people with a lot of active nakshatras, and they can be a lot of help to people with emphasis of the passive nakshatras. They're the balancer for both, and by doing that, they get balanced as well. When they stick to themselves, they might stay balanced, but everything is brought about more readily, more visually, more discernedly in the presence of other people, in my opinion, I suppose. But I digress. That was the nakshatra classification of activity. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm Dustin Cormier for How to Rock Astrology. Stay tuned. On the next episode, we're going to be talking about the qualities, the nature of these nakshatras. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you on the next one.